Hey sweeties, thank you all for subscribing to my backup channel. I appreciate you all. Welcome to Nanyacim. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash the subscribe button, turn on the notification so you get notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you all, and I want to say a very big thank you to every one of you for always coming back to watch my videos and subscribing. You all are the Rayy MVPs. So I am going to put something that started the conversation here. And this white man was saying that children should learn about racism because all the racism makes white children uncomfortable, but it makes black children dead, right? And he went further to explain that black children do not have the option to choose whether or not they learn about racism, that they learn about racism, and that white children should be taught about racism from a younger age. And you know what? Stay glued to the screen. Let's get into this video, and let me know what you all think in the comment section. So let me roll the clip.
Like this person, my ex-wife thought our child was too young to learn about racism. Children should be children. My daughter is 9 and I have been teaching her about racism for the last 3 years. One of the documentaries that I showed her had graphic images of black people being hung and dogs being sicked on them. My daughter turned to me and said, "Daddy, I understand why mommy doesn't think I should be learning about this stuff now." I reminded her that her aunt's first time being called the N-word was at the age of 8. And I asked her, "Do you think that black children have the option to choose whether or not they learn about racism?" She replied no. So I asked her why white children should have the privilege of not having to learn about racism. Focusing on the comfortability of our white children instead of teaching them about racism does them a disservice because it prevents them from being the best humans that they can be. Although racism makes white children uncomfortable, it makes black children dead. Learn up.
Alright, so you all heard that. I was able to gather up stitches and all that from different people talking about this, how they started teaching their kids about racism and all that. You know what? Stay glued to the screen. Let me roll the stitches and let me know what you all think in the comment section. So let's go.
Like this person, my ex-wife thought our child was too young to learn about racism.
This is a great take, so go watch the original creators video whenever you have a chance. But let's be real clear. What y'all don't want your kids to learn at a young age is anti-racism. That's what your issue is. Because they're already learning about racism by watching their racist parents perform and enact it in their homes. You're completely fine with kids learning about racism from a young age, from the perspective of the oppressor. What you have an issue with is learning about racism from the perspective of the oppressed.
He said that racism makes white children uncomfortable, but it makes black children dead. Yes to everything that creator said, but I want to go one step further and talk about my experience as a racialized, marginalized person within the United States who came from a first-generation immigrant family who learned about race in the South. Being a multiracial person of color in a place that consists of mostly monoracial people, either white or black people, and then learning the very sanitized, whitewashed type of racial history that just didn't exist here in the United States, instead of the actual history, including the history with Puerto Rico, which is an American territory, which is where my parents are from, including the history with Mexico, which is literally, Mexico used to be the majority of the United States, and then it was just colonized. It was colonized. But I really want to reiterate that the misinformation that we learned as kids, whenever we do not learn about racism, but we experience racism, what happens is that our psyches then internalize that racism. Instead of us actually being able to conceptualize why we're being treated wrongly, we internalize that there must be something inherently wrong with us. There must be something abnormal or weird, or you know what I mean? There must be something wrong with us, that we are being treated in a way that is unjust because we don't understand that people are just racist. We don't understand why we're not getting as far as our white peers or our white colleagues, because we don't understand that it is because of racism. We don't understand why we live in different neighborhoods. We don't understand these things. We just internalize that we are not as good of human beings because we are just like not like white people. But we don't understand as children that that is because of racism. We just think, because we haven't been actually educated in a real racial dynamics, or real racial history, we think that there's something inherently wrong with us. We think that we're just like not good enough. I want to add that holidays like Christmas and St. Patrick's Day and the Easter Bunny and the Tooth Fairy did not help, because whenever you are consistently telling children lies about where they're getting things from or who's giving them to them whenever they're growing up, and it's some sort of like mythical creature, they don't start to believe in magic. They just stop trusting adults whenever they find out that adults are consistently lying to them. So instead of adults just pretending these things didn't happen and consistently lying to them, we could create secure attachment with children by telling them the truth.
Like this person, my ex-wife thought our child was too young to learn about racism.
So go back and watch his whole video, because it's a good video. You should be watching this kind of thing. But what I find so interesting, and I normally don't talk about this, but what I find so interesting about this, should children be learning about racism, Black history, in Black History Month, right? That debate is that if you look at the pictures of some of the events, he said they watched a video where people were being hung and dogs and stuff like that. If you look real close in those pictures, you'll see other kids, right? You'll see kids. He said his daughter was 9. My son is 8. You'll see kids that age who used to attend those events like it was a day in the park or, Sunday after church, right? So they've been teaching their children about racism. The problem is it's been the wrong lesson. So now that we know better, we should do better and be teaching our kids the right things.
The comfortability of our white children instead of teaching them about racism does them a disservice.
Yes, and by exposing our children at a young age to the horrific nature of racism and violence, they begin to see at an early age the cognitive dissonance associated with all of the systems that we are used to and accustomed to just accepting as adults. In other words, the violence that we have learned to accept, they see and find completely unacceptable from a very young age, which means that they're going to grow up with an understanding that it's not acceptable. Therefore, they are less likely to be racist in their adulthood.
Although racism makes white children uncomfortable, it makes Black children dead.
Yep. If you have children and you are not teaching them to be anti-racist, anti-homophobic, and anti-transphobic, you are a problem.
Like this person, my ex-wife thought our child was too young to learn about racism.
It's funny how they say they're too young to learn about it in school. But, their kids are never too young to be taught how to be racist. They never tap on that. My earliest memories were, I think I was 6 or 7. And grant you, I, told you guys back in a couple of TikToks about my mom having me and my sister not disclose what we were. However, she did give us the talk and warn us, as well as in our house, racism wasn't tolerated. We had 2, half siblings. And the N-word was like Voldemort, like you didn't say it. You said it, as did my oldest sister, calling my other sister that during a fight. You found yourself backed into the infamous ass-whooping corner in the kitchen. But anyway, it's neither there nor that. It made me think of when I was younger, 6-ish, 7-ish. The neighborhood kids always use the N-word. And we would always go in circles, the whole stop it, I'm going in, and I would go in and, not talk to them. I mean, it was just seemed never ending. Well, fast forward to several years ago when I got reunited with said neighborhood kids. And we all met went and had lunch. Half of them didn't change. That's for another TikTok. Lunch was cut short, so we went back to the one neighbor's mother's house, and we were all talking about it. And they mentioned it was her own daughter. You know, my neighbor was talking about, oh yeah, Lisa. Oh yes, yeah. When we would say that, she would threaten, blah 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 blah. Do you know the mom? Her mom had no qualms about that at all, but literally sat there and called me a liar. Now I know you're lying. 6 years old, 7 years old still. That's too young to be that self-aware. While the other two are like, no, that happened. She did that. She still, I don't believe it. But had no qualms about her daughter and the other neighbor using the N-word all the time and being racist at 6 and 7. So no, boo-boo. They're not too young to learn about it in school because 9 out of 10 times they've already been taught it younger than that.
My daughter is 9 and I have been teaching her about racism for the last 3 years.
When my second child was born in March of last year, the dishonorable Texas Senator Ted Cruz was doing his absolute best to promote the book Anti-Racist Baby. I immediately went out and purchased the book from my local bookstore and started reading it to my 3-year-old daughter. She just turned 4 this past week, and in honor of Martin Luther King Day today, I took her back to that bookstore and we read a couple books about Martin Luther King, who he was, his legacy, why he's so important to the history of this country. And I found the Anti-Racist Baby book, and I read it to her, and I explained to her what racism is, what anti-racism is, and why it's important. And I still believe that our children are never too young to start learning about what racism is and why we should be confronting it.
So this is all we have for the stitches, and like you all heard them, they are never too young to learn. All right, so this is where I am gonna draw the curtain. Let me know what you all think in the comment section, and you know what, see you all in my next video. Bye.